Good morning! It is Sunday the 19th of July. Now, school term has finished, which means it is officially the summer holidays. So, congratulations, you've made it through a summer term of lockdown and it is time for summer holidays. Hopefully, you can breathe a sigh of relief because this has been a strange time. And hopefully it's going to mean a bit of a rest for people, for families, and for you if you've been doing school at home or if you've been doing school in school. So hopefully there's a change. Now, what are we looking at today? Well, we are going to be looking at a bit more of the story of David. So let's do another little recap. The people chose a king. His name was Saul, but he wasn't following God. Samuel chose a different king, and that king was a boy called David. David came into Saul's palace to play the harp for him. Then he defeated Goliath, the giant, on the battlefield. Amazing. David became a big, important warrior in Saul's army. Saul became worried about him because people were singing songs about David and saying he was better than Saul. So Saul wanted to kill David. So David ran away into the desert with his band of men. Sounds a bit like Robin Hood, doesn't it? That they were fighting battles against different people. Now, it's a bit tricky this because I don't really like the idea of war and battles. But there's a lot of it going on in this story. So, what we need to remember is that this story is from thousands of years ago. It's really old, and time back then was a little bit different. So we need to remember that and see it like that. Anyway, where we get to today, David has been running around in the desert with his band of people, trying to escape from Saul, and eventually he decides it's a good idea to connect up with some of the enemies that they've been fighting against, the Philistines. So he goes to them and he gets to live in peace amongst the Philistines, and he gets given a little town where the Philistines say he can live. Then the Philistines ask him and his people to come and help them fight against Saul, which is a little bit of a tricky mess for David, but he says okay. So off he goes. But when he gets there, the other Philistines say, no, we don't want David here, we don't trust him. He might give us over to Saul. He might turn around and fight with them. So they send him back home again. Meanwhile, something bad has happened at home. Another group of people, called the Amalekites, have come in and have burned David's town and have taken prisoner all of David's family and friends. So it's a bit of a mess. So what does David do? Well, David does something really interesting. He calls for his holy vest. A holy vest. A special vest called an ephod, special clothing which the priests would wear when they wanted to talk to God. So it's a special thing for them to do when they wanted to praise God or talk to God. So he goes and he asks God what he should do next. And I think this is the first important lesson that we can learn from today. David is faced with a tricky situation. And what does he do? The first thing he does is he asks God. He says, I know you know, so I'm going to trust you and I'm going to ask you. And God says, go, chase after them, and you will have the strength. I will give you the strength. You will overtake them, in fact, is what he says. So that's the first lesson. The second lesson is this. As they're chasing them, they come across a man in the wilderness who's just been left there by the Amalekites. And this man gives them information. So he's a servant of the Amalekites and he says, I'm going to tell you where they are as long as you promise not to kill me. So the second thing is, David shows mercy, just like he did last week. He sees the value in this person and he shows mercy, which is a great characteristic. And then the third thing is this. They go off and they battle and they win this battle and they get all of their family back who haven't been harmed and killed, and they go back to their town and they also have lots of good stuff that they get back. The rewards, the gold and the things that they have to keep them going. And there's a problem. Some of David's army are tired. They're worn out from the chase. So they decide not to go and fight. And the other army soldiers say, they don't deserve to get any of the rewards then. They don't deserve to get any of the gold and the jewels and the things that we've taken back. But David says, no. And David in this shows fairness. He says everybody should be rewarded equally. He shows fairness. And not only that, he sends some of their captured wealth off to different Israelites around them. So he makes friends. So he is wise. So in this story, although it's quite a tricky one, we can see amazing characteristics of David. We can see that he trusts God. He asks God for guidance, that he shows mercy to people, and that he is fair. He shows fairness amongst the people and makes sure everybody is looked after. What an amazing leader. So, have a little think about that today. Have a think about those characteristics and think about how you might like to have those characteristics in your life. God bless.